This is Mary Blair. And right now you're probably thinking, who's that? Exactly. Mary Blair might be just the most influential Disney artist that you've never heard of. If you've ever watched Cinderella, wondered why the castle sparkled in dreamy pastel colours, or noticed how Alice in Wonderland looks like somebody slipped the animators a bunch of psychedelics and said, hey, just go nuts, or even thought, hey, why does It's a Small World look like a kid's art project turned theme park ride? Well, that's all Mary. Seriously, Disney's golden era had a secret sauce. Mary Blair was basically the entire recipe, probably the spice cabinet as well. She was Walt Disney's secret weapon, the artist who turned black and white mice into Technicolor masterpieces. But here's the thing, Mary Blair wasn't your typical Disney employee. She broke every rule there was. She put pink next to orange, painted skies green, made pirate ships look playful, somehow got Walt Disney himself to absolutely love it. And yet, most people don't know who she is. So how does someone quietly become one of the most powerful creative forces behind the biggest entertainment empire on the planet and still manage to fly completely under the radar? Today we're diving into the colourful, whimsical and wonderfully weird world of Mary Blair, the woman who didn't just make art, she literally painted your childhood. Hey everyone, I'm Calamity Pooh, and on this channel we dive deep into the fascinating stories behind your favourite theme parks, explore the hidden drama inside of entertainment empires, and yes, sometimes we even roast corporate executives, because let's be honest, what happens behind the magic is often way more interesting than what ends up on the screen. And today we're stepping back into Disney history, but don't worry, we're giving Bob Chapek a break this time. Instead, we're talking about Mary Blair, a genuine Disney legend who shaped your childhood, probably without you even realizing it. Now, if you love hidden gems, forgotten heroes, and stories that make you go, wait, how did I not know this? You're in exactly the right place. Make sure you hit subscribe, settle in. Let's uncover how Mary Blair painted her way into Disney history. Let's jump into it. Let's rewind the clock back to 1911. We're in McAlester, Oklahoma. Small town, no Disneyland, no animation studios, just dust, prairie, and somewhere in the middle of all that, Mary Brown Robinson. She wasn't born into fame. She wasn't a prodigy surrounded by privilege. Mary just had something else entirely. She had vision. And as a kid, her family bounced around from Oklahoma to Texas to California, always chasing that next opportunity. And while her surroundings changed, Mary stayed locked in on one thing: art. By the time she was a teenager, it was clear she had the goods, not just the talent, but the discipline. She landed a scholarship to Chouinard Art Institute in Los Angeles, basically the Harvard for artists on the West Coast at the time. It's the same school that trained an entire generation of Disney legends, so it was in the right place. And it was there that she met Lee Blair, another promising artist, a watercolor guy, and eventually her husband. They were both young, ambitious, and absolutely broke. Because surprise, being an artist in the middle of the Great Depression wasn't exactly lucrative. Fine art dreams put on hold. Mary took a job in animation, first at MGM, then later with Ub Iwerks, who, by the way, was one of Walt Disney's original collaborators. She worked behind the scenes on early shorts, experimenting with color and design. It was mostly just grunt work. Then, in 1940, everything changed. Mary and Lee both landed jobs at Disney. He joined the story department and she was hired as a concept artist. Now, this is important because at the time, Disney was a boys' club. There's no secret that women were usually kept in the ink and paint department, tracing the drawings the men made. But Mary, she was different. Her eye for color, her understanding of shape, space. It was obvious she wasn't just talented, she was a visionary. And Walt noticed. And once Walt noticed you, things could start to move very fast. In 1941, he handpicked Mary for a special trip through South America. It wasn't some vacation, it was a goodwill tour organized by the US government to boost relations with Latin American countries during World War II. Walt brought along a group of artists to soak up the culture and find inspiration for new films. And guess who absolutely stole the show? You bet, Mary Blair. While other artists were sketching landscapes and parrots, Mary was creating full-blown paintings, bright, stylized, unapologetically bold. Walt took one look and went, that's it. That's the look. She became the art supervisor for films that came out of that trip, Saludos Amigos and The Three Caballeros. Both movies are wild, surreal love letters to Latin America. They wouldn't look anything like they do without Mary's influence. And this is where Mary Blair truly arrived. She wasn't just a concept artist anymore. She had Walt's ear, she had a seat at the table, and she was about to completely redefine the look of Disney animation. Alright, so now it's the early 1940s, Mary's back from South American tour, and Walt Disney is absolutely obsessed with her work. He'd always been a guy with big dreams, but Mary had the imagination to visualize them. She didn't just sketch scenes, she created entire moods. Her colors weren't accurate, they were emotional. The sky didn't have to be blue, it could be coral. The forest didn't need detail, it needed energy. Walt loved that. He saw something in Mary that most of the studio didn't quite understand yet. And here's the thing, her art, it broke every rule. Animators at the studio were trained in realism, perfect perspective, natural lighting, correct anatomy. Then Mary walks in and says, what if the moon was green and the trees were triangles? And the animators were like, we can't animate this. This doesn't make any sense. But Walt, he looked at it and he said, make it work. Because he got it. Mary wasn't just drawing pictures. She was creating feeling. She was painting dreams, stylized, abstract, and absolutely unforgettable. And soon, her style started creeping into Disney's biggest films. Let's talk about Cinderella, that classic ballroom scene. You know the one. Glowing gown, shimmering palace, everything drenched in soft blues and golds. That was Mary. She didn't do the animation, but her concept art dictated the entire vibe. She made Cinderella feel like a fantasy, elegant, clean, almost storybook perfect. And there's Alice in Wonderland. If Cinderella was a delicate and dreamy thing, Alice was full-blown weird. Mary thrived in weird. Her concept art for Wonderland was surreal, chaotic, almost cubist. Flowers with faces, teacups floating midair, a color palette that looked like it came out of a crayon box in another dimension. And the animators once again panicked. We can't animate this. And again, Walt said, try. Then came Peter Pan. Mary's concept work gave Neverland its charm. That glowing lagoon, the candy-colored skies, the silhouettes flying over London. She had this way of making things feel magical without leaning on realism. Every time you see a Disney scene that feels like a child's imagination just exploded onto the screen, odds are Mary Blair was behind it. She wasn't just dabbing in the margins, she was shaping the visual identity of Disney's golden age from the inside out. Walt trusted her completely. While other artists were still pitching detailed, shaded renderings, Mary would walk in with bold shapes, flat colors, and say, here's what this world feels like. And more often than not, that's the version Walt picked. By the 1950s, Mary Blair was Disney's go-to visionary. Not the animator, not the director, but the person who made it look magical. A stylist, a dreamer. Walt's secret weapon. If you think she stopped at the movies, oh no, she was just getting started. By the early 1950s, Mary Blair had already left her mark on Disney's biggest animated films. She was the vibe behind Cinderella's elegance, the chaos in Wonderland, and the charm of Neverland. But after Peter Pan, something unexpected happened. She left. Just walked away from Disney. She'd been there for over a decade helping shape the visual language of the studio, and now she wanted to slow down, focus on family, maybe even paint for herself again. But here's the thing about leaving Disney. If Walt wants you back, come back. Fast forward to the 1960s and Disney's now building theme parks, planning the 1964 World's Fair and dreaming up something new, something that would celebrate the children of the world. He calls Mary Blair, not the ride engineers, not the logistics people, he calls the color wizard. Walt knew that only one person could make a ride like It's a Small World actually work. A boat ride filled with singing dolls and international landmarks, that could be tacky real fast. But with Mary Blair leading the design, it became iconic. She designed every part of it, the color palette, the shapes, the costumes, the stylized sets that feel like pop-up books in motion. It's playful, it's cheerful, it's globally inspired, and it's peak Mary Blair. The pastel rainbow style, that's her. The geometric sets and wide-eyed smiling dolls, that's all her. Even the weirdly charming goat riding a rainbow in the finale, yep, that's still her. It's a Small World premiered at the World's Fair and it was a smash hit. Disney eventually brought it to Disneyland, replicated at Disney World, Tokyo, Paris, Hong Kong, you name it. Became one of the most recognizable rides in the world and people loved it. Kids loved it. Adults, well, they tolerated the song. But visually, everyone agreed it was beautiful. This was Mary in her element, a three-dimensional, fully immersive version of her art. She didn't just return to Disney, she redefined what Disney looked like in real life. She didn't stop with just one ride. She designed murals too, like the massive tile mural in the Contemporary Resort Hotel at Walt Disney World, a 90-foot geometric masterpiece that's still standing there today. Thousands of hand-painted tiles with smiling children, animals, abstract mountains, all unmistakably Blair. And fun fact, there's a 5-legged goat in the mural, on purpose. Mary added it as a little design quirk to remind people that art doesn't have to be perfect to be meaningful, because of course she did. Outside of Disney, Mary was thriving too. She started illustrating children's books, especially for the Little Golden Books line. If you've ever seen a vintage copy of I Can Fly or Baby's House, that bright, charming art style? Yep, that's her again. She also worked in advertising, painted murals for hospitals and stayed creative well into her later years. She didn't need a big studio to do big things. Mary's art could shine anywhere. Eventually, she slowed down and stepped back from public life and passed away in 1978 at the age of 66. She never made a big fuss about her legacy, she just let the colours speak for themselves. Mary Blair might not have been a household name during her lifetime, but today, she's a legend. And not in the corporate honorary plaque kind of way, I mean a genuine, studied, referenced, obsessed over legend. Walk into any Pixar studio today and chances are you'll see a Mary Blair art book sitting on someone's desk. Pixar's Chief Creative Officer, Pete Docter, Director of Art, Inside Out and Soul, has flat out said, there's a phrase on every movie where we say, let's look at Mary Blair's stuff. Her sense of colour, her stylization, her fearless choices. Modern animators still chase that magic. Marco Giamo, the art director for Frozen, called her work a pure art form. He literally looked at Mary Blair's paintings while designing Arendelle. She's that influential. It's not just film. In 2011, on what would have been her 100th birthday, Google gave her a doodle, a joyful Blair-style portrait right on the homepage. And millions of people saw her name and said, wait, who's Mary Blair? And then looked her up and saw their entire childhood in her art. She had museum retrospectives, gallery shows, and full-on art books dedicated just to her concept work. Walt Disney Family Museum even built a full exhibition called Magic, Colour, Flair, The World of Mary Blair. It featured hundreds of original pieces and framed her as the artist who brought modernism into Disney. And honestly, that's not just hype, that's history. Her murals still stand in the parks. Her ride, It's a Small World, still sends boatloads of kids through a pastel utopia every day. And her colours, her style, it shows up in modern Disney and Pixar films whether the audience knows it or not. Because once you've seen a Mary Blair sky, you can't unsee it. She didn't just paint backgrounds, she painted emotion. She made fantasy feel real. She turned bold graphic design into storytelling. And she did it all at a time when women weren't exactly running the creative room. Mary Blair didn't just make art, she changed Disney. And in doing that, she changed pop culture forever. So how do you sum up Mary Blair? She didn't run a studio, she didn't direct a film, she never once stepped into the spotlight, and yet her fingerprints are everywhere. From Cinderella's sparkling transformation to Alice's whimsical descent into Wonderland, to every doll that sings in It's a Small World, Mary Blair brought colour, joy, and imagination to millions of people. She broke the rules, she trusted her instincts, and somehow in a studio full of men drawing castles and talking mice, she made Disney feel. And even decades after her death, we're still living in the world she helped paint. Now look, maybe she never became a household name, but in a way that kind of fits. Mary wasn't chasing fame, she was chasing wonder. She once said, you get an education in school, but you learn something every day. And if we learned anything from her life, it's this. Don't wait for permission to make your art. It's funny how digging into somebody else's story can get you thinking about your own. While researching Mary Blair, something about that 5-legged goat really stuck with me. It reminded me of a chat I had with a friend recently, funnily enough, about how after a few drinks I love to get up and sing karaoke. Am I good at it? Absolutely not. That's never the point. It's fun, it's expressive, it's just me. And that's exactly what Mary captured in her work. She wasn't trying to be technically perfect. She wasn't trying to impress with realism. She was painting the feeling of things, the joy, the wonder, the imagination behind the everyday. That goat, that wild colour palette, that refusal to stick to the rules, all of it was Mary saying art isn't about perfection, it's about expression. And honestly, that applies to everything. Singing, painting, writing, designing, whatever it is. You don't have to be the best. You just have to do it your way. That's what makes it matter. That's what makes it magic. Trust your gut, break some rules. Don't be afraid to color outside the lines, especially if you want to leave a mark. And hey, if you made it this far, first of all, you're a legend. If you enjoyed this little detour through Disney history and colourful chaos, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We've got plenty more where that came from. Theme park deep dives, weird little corporate dramas, unsung heroes, and yes, probably more aggressively nostalgic takes on mid-century design. Drop a comment below and tell me, did you know who Mary Blair was before all this? Who should we cover next? Until then, stay curious, stay creative, and remember, perfect is boring, weird is better, karaoke, always a good idea. Catch you in the next one.
Thanks so much for Chris, everyone. Yes, Factory Girls.